Hello everyone and welcome to the Decks of the Weekend, where every Monday I bring you the more exciting deck that I think did well in the weekend over to the paper formats. Today is national holiday in Italy. It's called Ferragosto, but I can't really miss the deck of the weekend. So what we got here is rackdos Blink. rackdos Blink is a deck that I brought to the channel a few months ago at this point. And actually went 5-0 with it. And what it does is you try to play Grief and Fury, and you simply bring it back with Undying Malice or with Malaki Rebirth. But the deck isn't an all-in, Rakdos Ephemerate deck, as weird as that sounds. You also just a Rakdos mid-range deck, so you have Season Pyromancer, Fable, you have your turn 1 Ragavan backed up by removals, by Discard Spell, you even have Blood Moon in the main since you're playing 3 Swamps. And you're playing also Liliana Deville card, a very, very favorable card. And we got some Obnixious in the sideboard, interesting card. This card is very hyped when New Capenna came out and never really saw any play for sure in Modern. So first time seeing it in a couple of copies, I'm definitely trying it out. It must be good against any control deck like 4-color or blue-white, just because it deals damage to them with the first ability. And this deck can definitely, be an aggro deck. Sometimes you just go boom, Fury turn 1 with an Undying Malice, and then you got your 4/4 double strike. So the list that Yondingo top 8'd with, came second in the final. Came second in the challenge win, is playing only Undying Malice and Malaki Rebirth. The list that I trophied with had 4 Undying Malice, 4 Feign Death, no Malaki Rebirth, so that's definitely the difference between these two lists. The deck that won the challenge on Saturday was Calibrated Blast. That's definitely a surprise, as that's not a deck that somebody would think win the tournament of a reasonable level, but that's interesting. I'm definitely gonna bring it on the channel. Okay, next format. Actually, gonna skip Pioneer this week. I think we got some important Legacy and Pauper news. Let's start with the Legacy first, because there's a lot to unpack here. So in the Legacy format had a showcase qualifier, the event in 15 people. I think I talked to you about this before, certainly talked it in a podcast. Oh, by the way, you might have missed it, but I've started a podcast with my friends Javier Dominguez and Anthony Lee last week. So check it out. I'm going to put it in the show notes, in the descriptions, but we do have a podcast. It's aiming at coming out every week. And for now it's on the Spotify. Hopefully it's going to be on iTunes soon, but we're talking about competitive Magic. And we talked about the showcase of the past weekend, which were, the weekend before, which were Pioneer Modern. This week we had Legacy and Pauper. And the Legacy format was won by a wild deck. It didn't have Ornate Queen in it. I'm not joking here. It had Ornate Queen in it. This is the deck. It's playing 4 Spellseeker. Spellseeker is a 3-mana 1/1 that tutors up an instant that costs 1 or 2 and puts it in your hand. So what you do is you get Ephemerate. And if your opponent doesn't stop you, you have this loop where you're ephemerating a Spellseeker and just get 2 spells. What you get is you might get the Greenson Zenith. You can tutor up your Eternal Witness. You can bring back Ephemerate, and you have this Ephemerate Eternal Witness loop where you get back a card every turn, and the card you might get back is Wyrm's-Charm, so your opponent isn't able to play spells or attacks every turn. It's a obviously very complicated thing. It's kind of like I'm describing a Pauper deck, but it's a Legacy deck, and it again won the Showcase qualifier, which is an event with limited amount of people, only 30 people, because they needed to top 8 a very big event to qualify. 3 big events to qualify, and this deck is playing 3 Carpet of Flower main, 1 Carpet of Flower side. So I've played a lot of Legacy yesterday in paper with my friends. I was playing first a Teamer deck with Maddening Eggs and Minsc and Boo, and then I played Blue Red Delver, and I've been annihilated by Carpet of Flower. I think that this card is very underplayed. Legacy players, I feel like very often you just don't see that many innovations, so that's why I love to see this deck doing well. It's definitely an innovative deck, and it's playing 4 copies of Carpet of Flower in the 95 with 3 in the main, even though you don't really have a way to, get rid of them if you're playing against a deck that isn't green, that isn't blue, but you do have endurance because the Capital Flower is green, so you can pitch it to your endurance against a deck like Reanimator or, any sort of like Life from the Loam deck. The deck is playing Abundant Growth as your Arcum's Astrolabe, and it's playing a wild variety of one-offs like Pyroblast and Hydroblast. It's like Traverse the Ovenwald, and again, because of the Spellseeker engine, you can't afford to play all these like weird one-offs in your 80 card deck. You're even playing, this is like the craziest thing here, 1 Birds of Paradise in the sideboard. I'm assuming that for when you're on the draw, you want to have more starters, but that's definitely something that not a normal deck building by this Magic player called I actually don't know their name. Their online name is CFTSOC3, and every time they do well in a tournament, their list is crazy. And they don't only play Legacy; they play every format. They've done very well in standard formats and the arena PTs and things like that. And they always had this crazy deck with a very questionable deck building choice, like 1 Birds of Paradise in the sideboard. But I love to see that. And again, Legacy is a format that desperately thrives for innovation in competitive, because there's plenty of Legacy content creator that are just for fun, but at the top you all see the same decks. And you might argue because, well, like Days Wasteland and Force of Will are hard to play around in deck building, but it's always interesting in seeing these less explored format at the high level where like things like this happen, like freaking Orin and Queen, So I love it. I love to see this. I'm very happy that a deck like this one in a format that I love to that I enjoy following, like Legacy. Finally, it's Pauper. Pauper also had a showcase, I told you, and it was won by a pretty normal deck, I want to say, because you know how Pauper had these like Monster Swift Spear, ooh, it's broken, and like the Affinity, it's been like 6 months, maybe 12 months that they asked to ban the Affinity, and then just bore us with Kuldotha Rebirth and Rally the Peasants win the showcase with another player in the top 8. Fairies, I believe, reading some of the news there, Fairies did pretty well, Affinity did average, and there were literally 0 red players, 0 mono red, or just nobody played a Monster Swift Spear in that like again, pretty competitive format. So not saying that the deck is awful, just saying that a lot of what people maybe thought would happen, I don't think actually happened. Monster Swift Spear didn't need to be banned or things like that. But anyway, this is the Boros deck. I've brought Boros on the channel a couple of times, so you can definitely check it out. Like, just write Boros, Pauper, Mengucci. You'll have some videos. My decks list for sure was different since I wasn't playing Rally plus Kuldotha. Not a big fan of playing a 3-drop in the deck with Synthetizer, as you might flip it. Sorry, let me rephrase. You can play them 3-drop, but the problem with Rally Peasant is sometimes you just don't have creatures, don't have a positive attack, and that's like not great to cast. So that's my concern. Although this deck doesn't play the Inspiring Overseer, Militia Bugler, or even the Monarch, so that's less 4-drop to worry about to flip to your Synthetizer. The goal of the deck is just to create value while also attacking. You got Korskai Fisher, Glint Hawk, Seeker of the Way, and all these cards, and of course Kuldotha Rebirth, and all these cards, they just add damage to the opponent. You have, of course, Seeker Wellspring and Synthetizer. You have Making Munition to have a very good matchup against Fairies. This deck is a very good matchup against Fairies. Against Affinity struggles a bit. You do have 2 Gorilla Shaman plus 2 Gas to Dust. But, the finals was against Cycle Storm. A very unfair Pauper deck, but this deck managed to win, I guess, on behalf of their 3 Relic of Progenitus, which can be very hard for their deck to deal with. So yeah, this was the Pauper tournament and how it ended. I'm gonna definitely play a lot of Modern this week. I'm trying to have a Legacy day always, and maybe we can get some Pauper in as well. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you'll have a lovely day. Stay tuned on the Mango YouTube videos. One day, every day, there's a new video. Have a good day.